having to be mindful of little things like that, you walk through the world differently.
Hey Giselle, how's it going?
It's going pretty well, Jacob. Yaakov?
What does God mean to you?
It's a really good question. It's definitely evolving. I feel like my spiritual journey has been such a roller coaster, but I think the most stable version of God that I've been able to, even when my religiosity is kind of fluctuating, my most stable conception of God is science, and life itself. So I guess one version of life would be the difference between a dead organism or cell and a life, an alive one. Whoa. The moment before death and the moment before life. Not that necessarily is a moment, but that force, whatever that is, that animates something, I think is God. It's all part of God, like a life source. And then also life in the more colloquial sense of the word.
How would you separate God in that case from mechanistic biology, kind of nuts and bolts properties of matter that produce life? Does that question make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I actually think it's not hard for me. They seem like mechanistic biology supports God, and it's God flows through it. The mitochondria gives the cell energy, and that's great. But there's a cell with a mitochondria that works, and then there's a dead cell, and I don't think that can be explained. I mean, it's not again, to me, science is not contradictory to God most of the time, or maybe ever. It kind of is.
Do you have a religious belief or a religious sect you follow?
Yeah, I'm pretty Jewish, but it's kind of difficult. I feel really connected to Judaism as an identity always. As a religion, there's a lot of faith involved in a certain event happening. I'm referring to the giving of the Torah at Sinai and the validity of that. And I know a lot of people disagree with this, and I want to disagree with this because it would make things so much simpler. But I think it's kind of black and white. I'm looking for ways. I'm really trying to not believe that, but
Craving that nuance.
sometimes I feel it was either given and it's God given, and everything that it says, even the things you disagree with, are the truth, or not so. And I'm a cherry picker.
Is that your job?
Yeah.
Sorry. Stupid.
But I think I reconcile that by being a cherry picker for the time being. But it's either orthodoxy or secularity. Or not secularity, because even when I'm secular, I still do Shabbats and stuff, things that I find value in. But
what do you think secular people, what's one lesson that Judaism could give to secular people without necessarily having to believe in any of it, but something that the culture has taught you that's meaningful?
I really love the emphasis on distinguishing between the sacred and profane, or not profane, just mundane and the holy. You can find that in almost every, that's kind of an overlying theme in Judaism. It's part of almost every practice. And I really love the idea of Shabbat as one day above all other days.
Shabbat's the Sabbath?
Yeah. From Friday night to Saturday night, sunset to sunset, or an hour after sunset, where you're not supposed to work. And sometimes I think what constitutes work is a little not applicable to me, braiding hair or something like that.
laborious.
Yeah, like I don't always think that a lot of the things that are forbidden, like tearing toilet paper, stuff like that, are necessarily work.
Mm-hmm.
They're things that are connected to like building a tabernacle in the desert. You know, those come from something. But anyways, the idea that like 6 days of the week you're working and for one day you just enjoy it. That separation I think is really powerful, because if not, it's so easy for time to just blur together, for life to just like homogenize. And
I think a lot of psychology research would support that you shouldn't work 7 days a week. That evolutionarily we're not designed to. That there's not really a need to. It's so normal in like a post-industrialist world, like consuming or doing things 7 days a week. Because even just things like using technology, which is not, or using electronic technology, which is not allowed in the Torah. Like I think on the Sabbath, I think that's a really good thing that to be integrated, just generally for people, like 1 day a week as a break, just as a concept.
Definitely. And it's also like a mindset thing. Like you don't even have to, because so many of like the things that are forbidden are, like I said, they're not actually effortful. But it's the mindset of like separating. You don't need to accumulate right now. You don't need to go out and search for firewood. Like God provides. You have enough. Now you just sit with your family and enjoy it. And like you don't need to, like I have a friend who like he keeps Shabbat in a really special way, and I mean I don't know if this is specific to him or just like how you're supposed to do it, but I learned it from him. And he basically doesn't do anything for the sake of progress on Shabbat. Like he does not try to progress in anything. Like he won't even pick up trash off the ground. Like,
well, that's just not eco-friendly.
I know, I have conflicting feelings about that. I do. but it's crazy mindset shift. Like 6 other days of the week, picks up all the trash and like, you know, like is so focused on growing himself and like will go on runs and is so like gung-ho. But on that day, like you literally just sit and read. And I also will say that even those quote unquote like sillier things like tearing toilet paper and braiding your hair, they might not be laborious, but having to be mindful of like things you can't do on this day but you can do on other days does imbue the day with a different vibe.
Yeah, I think even if superstition can be an end in and of itself. Not to use the word superstition in like a demeaning way about someone's religion, but more just like, you know, just like having an extra special energy to it.
Exactly. Like I don't even think it's superstitious, because like superstition in my head at least has the connotation that like if this then this, whereas really this is just like following a law for the sake of following a law. Like I mean maybe Kabbalistically I'm speaking like I'm wrong about this, but it's really just, I think the premise is like because God told you to.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, if I walk inside this house with an umbrella open, bad luck, you know?
Yeah.
It's not really that. But yeah, just like having to be mindful of little things like that, you walk through the world differently. And I love that, maybe it's like my ADHD soul, but like, I love that.
You like to say that ADHD soul.
Only with you. I invented it yesterday, and I think it's pretty good for describing how I am, because
if the shoe fits.
Yeah. I think like sometimes emphasizing ADHD as a disorder, which it is, and I kind of get annoyed when people only talk about it in the context of like the superpowers it supposedly gives you.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Which are definitely a thing for a lot of people, but like it's not a disorder by textbook definition unless it disrupts your life. So
yeah, and there are people who have real struggle with it.
Yeah.
In ways that aren't like cute.
Yeah, like you can have the tendencies that it describes, but if it by like and this goes for any disorder. It's not a disorder unless it disrupts your life, and not just disrupts your life in some ways, but like there are specific criteria, and like self-diagnosis is not good.
Yeah, definitely.
That's my.
No, I have a big pet peeve when people are like, oh, I'm so PTSD or I'm so OCD about this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think there's a truth to like these disorders. To diagnose them, they have very specific criteria, but I think the traits beneath them exist on a spectrum that all people have, where most people don't have anxiety disorders, but everyone has anxiety. Most people don't have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, but a lot of people are not great at managing their attentional systems.
Right.
You know?
Totally. And I also don't, like, I want to we have to leave room for the fact that, like, getting a diagnosis is really expensive. I think. I'm pretty sure. And, like, not necessarily accessible to everybody.
True.
But we still just have to be careful. Like, I think you can identify with something and think you might have it, or identify with something and say, I have traits along this label. But, like, the label should, I think, be reserved for, like, a clinical diagnosis.
Yeah,
just because, like, labels are only useful when we all know what it means.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, people with ADHD or any given disorder are still going to vary greatly from person to person, but still, like...
It's a thing. It's a very specific thing with a specific meaning.
Some guidelines, you know? And most people I don't even think I know what the criteria are. Like, I haven't studied the DSM-5 enough to memorize it. I couldn't tell you, like, right now, but I think it's, like, X amount of times a week does this happen. Like, it's more specific than people think. Yeah.
What's one thing you like about yourself?
What's one thing I like about myself? I like my... Oops. I like that the corners of my eyes are kind of blue-gray. I think it's kind of funky.
That's not an answer I expected.
I mean, I was gonna say something else, but I feel like recently my identity is so in flux. I'd have to, like, think about this for, like, 15 more seconds.
That's okay. I'm not in a rush. Why is your identity so in flux?
I feel like my identity was pretty strong when I was in college. I really developed it around people and practices that I did in college, and, like, a lifestyle, and it wasn't immediate, but, like, I'm starting to feel like a year ago is so much longer than a year ago. I just graduated a year ago. And, like, it's really ever since I got back from Boston. I'm still trying to pinpoint exactly what it was about that month and a half long going off to Cambridge, Massachusetts, that, like, really gave me a little bit of an ego death.
Fun
totally
ego
not
death?
drug induced at all. What'd you say?
Fun ego death?
Not really. I kind of liked having, like, a really strong sense of self. I'm just rebuilding it.
I mean, I think identity change is non-linear. It's more of a stepwise function.
Yeah.
And graduating college can definitely be a big milestone for a lot of people.
Yeah, totally. And I think I also anchored myself onto, like a moment of romance. Like, that became, like, a primary goal for me. And, like, that success, when it would be successful, a successful interaction would, like, change the course of my day, and an unsuccessful interaction or whatever, putting it, like, weirdly, but would also change my day. And, like, so much of my self-worth, I just, like, didn't, I totally allowed this to happen, but I kind of, like, lost myself a little bit without realizing it, and I only realized it once I kind of figured out that, like, it's not really a thing I want to move forward in. And so, like, not even, you know, I'm used to, like, falling in love and then like taking, you know, time to get over that person, but to realize that like it's not gonna work out, and then like suddenly like the thing that I wanted for so long I don't even want it anymore.
Yeah.
So it's moving on from like my own goal, which is kind of weird, as opposed to moving on from loving the person. I think that like kind of gave me a little ego death.
Yeah. Because at that point, it's not even loving them, but loving some sort of fantasy like that's mapped onto them.
For sure. Oh my god, for sure. Yeah, I definitely need to work on my like idealizations of people and what I want my marriage to look like and like my life. Like, I think it's obviously good to have like aspirations and stuff, but I think that deep down, I believe that if it doesn't work out like this, I failed at life. And that's like so.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm setting myself up to fail. Like, being so afraid of failure is not conducive to risk taking, which is conducive to success.
Or like a healthy partnership, even.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like putting that pressure on it, it's so not good. But yeah, just like perfectionism and over idealization and like having too high standards and not like being realistic and okay, like genuinely okay with falling short. I think are things I really am trying to work on and like curb a little bit on a deep level. Because it's, I mean, obviously by talking to me, you know I'm aware of it. I'm stating it,
But there's a difference between like knowing and integrating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. So.
I honestly have found that like it's reasonable to expect a years long lag between knowing something and actually being able to like integrate it into my behavior, like my emotional reality.
Totally.
This paper's like not holding the ink super well. It's concerning.
I want to see it so bad.
Sucks. You'll never see it.
So badly.
So badly.
So badly.
Everyone on the internet's gonna judge your grammar.
Oh my god, I used to be so intense about like. It would really bother me when people would say sorry instead of I'm sorry. Not because of like, not even like to me. Like it wasn't like I need you to apologize to me more sincerely. It had nothing to do with that.
Your apology's insufficient due to your bad grammar.
It was literally.
Learn English and then apologize.
And like even my like English teachers would say it, and I'm like, bro. And then I just realized like, Giselle, see what I mean by like over idealization? Like even in such small things, I'm like, we should speak in full sentences.
Why?
This was when I was like in middle school. I was so weird.
Oh yeah.
In middle school. Oh my god.
I mean, the point of talking is to communicate, you know.
Yeah.
Like if someone understands. I've gotten that where it's like sometimes I want to use a big word, but I'm like, I don't even know if this is gonna help me aid in communication because this is like a niche word that I had to look up to learn.
Yeah.
And it's like such a balancing act because I love words and I love looking up words and figuring out new ones. But if I had to look it up to understand it, it's a niche word.
Well, what I love doing though, I love using the words anyways to practice because as we know, we're both psych majors, like pruning is a thing, use it or lose it. So I always opt to use like a more elevated word and then, you know, like sometimes, you know, it's depending on like how niche it is.
Yeah.
Asking like, do you know what that means? And then, which, okay, kind of like the way I said it sounded a little condescending, but if it's a really niche word, like I don't think it comes across that way because it's like obviously.
No, and it's fun to share words, and I feel like most people are good faith about it. They're like want to learn them too, or like are interested. At least I would appreciate it.
Totally, like sharing learning is so fun. You know, I mean, people have varying degrees of like passion for words, but like I don't think anyone's against learning a word. You know.
I'm slowly wrapping up here. Slowly. Trying to figure it all out.
What's your favorite word?
Lugubrious.
Ooh, I actually know what that means. It's related to malaise, right? It means like not feeling well somehow.
It means fat, but I could be wrong. Corpulent. Corpulent means fat. That's a fun word.
Corpulent means fat. Also,
Lugubrious.
bovine means relating to
It's
a
like
cow.
cow-like, yeah. I just like how, I don't even know what lugubrious means anymore, but I just like how it rolls off the tongue.
I like avuncular.
Avuncular, uncle-like.
Yeah. Like, what's uncle like? I don't even. It's so hard to use that word.
The battery died.
I hate it. I'm just kidding. No, it's so cute. I love it. I love it. The hair is really nice.
What's up, guys? It's Jacob from the Portrait Project here, and I hope you enjoyed that video. I just got some new mics in the mail, so hopefully audio quality will be a little bit better moving forward. Please like the video if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to see more. Hopefully I'm going to be making new videos at least twice a week. Also, just like last time, if you have any feedback, leave it in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. I'm always trying to make these videos better. Thanks for watching.